We've already shown you how the Summit County Sheriff's Office has repeatedly failed to notify the public when inmates escape. In this latest case, they claim they didn't have custody of the prisoner, but these records here seem to tell a different story. Last Tuesday, University Heights police arrested 34-year-old Antoinette Henderson for stealing from Target. Since she had an active felony warrant in Summit County, officers contacted the sheriff's office. Meanwhile, when Henderson complained about medical issues, she was taken to University Hospital's main campus in Cleveland. Records show she was not wearing handcuffs. Hospital police say Summit County Deputy Antonio Pacheco arrived to take custody of Henderson. Officers offered to help, but Pacheco reportedly told them he was good and they could go. Police say Henderson then bolted out the door. Multiple agencies were called in to help find her. SCSO told us, "We did not have custody of Miss Henderson upon arrival. She remained in custody of University Hospital." But the hospital's police records state at no time did they take custody of the prisoner. SCSO's records show Pacheco arriving at the hospital around 8:30 p.m. An hour later, he radioed dispatch to say he was out with the female prisoner, meaning he had her in custody. Then at 9:52, 22 minutes later, Pacheco called dispatch again to report that she had escaped. And even though Henderson has been missing for over a week now, SCSO still hasn't notified the public, which is required by state law. 19 Investigates previously exposed how several Summit County inmates escaped custody last year, and SCSO never issued notifications.
What's your name?
You want to tell him we got him?
What's your name? All right.
That caught the attention of a local lawmaker.
The felony escapes that had been occurring in Summit County that I was unaware of until I had seen those stories.
Representative Bill Romer recently introduced a new bill that would require agencies to notify the public when inmates escape. Those that don't could face potential penalties.
And the public really needs this.
On Wednesday, SCSO said they were not investigating this escape because they didn't have custody of Henderson. But after we showed them the documents we uncovered today, they confirmed this is now under investigation. Meanwhile, Romer's new bill is moving forward. It has already gotten 17 bipartisan co-sponsors. We'll, of course, keep you updated. In Cleveland, Mike Mason, 19 News. When we first reported this escape back in January, the Summit County Sheriff's Office claimed they never had custody of the prisoner. But after we exposed the truth, they investigated and found their deputy dropped the ball and his supervisor wasn't exactly truthful about what happened. Last fall, 19 Investigates first showed you how several Summit County inmates had recently escaped custody. In most cases, the Summit County Sheriff's Office failed to notify the public despite state and local laws. This year, another inmate escaped, and at first, SCSO denied she was ever in their custody. However, 19 Investigates found she was. Now the sheriff's office has determined the deputies involved should be disciplined. The escape happened on January 21st when police arrested 34-year-old Antoinette Henderson for stealing from a Target in University Heights.
Turn around for me. Put your hands behind your back. Put them together like you're praying.
Henderson told police she was having medical issues, so they brought her to University Hospitals in Cleveland. Since Henderson had an active felony warrant in Summit County, Deputy Antonio Pacheco arrived to take custody. Records show before he could cuff her, she bolted out the back door. Now, 2 months later, police say she's still on the run. When SCSO investigated the escape, they found that both Pacheco and his supervisor, Glenn Orr, violated several policies. However, it's not specified on their disciplinary report what the actual discipline will be. The report does state Pacheco failed to restrain Henderson with cuffs or leg shackles and didn't keep his eyes on her. The report also states Orr failed to notify his supervisor about Henderson's escape. Investigators recommended he be disciplined for 2 violations, including unsatisfactory performance and truthfulness. His disciplinary form states reports will be truthful and complete, and no employee will knowingly enter false or incomplete information. We reached out to both SCSO and the police union for comment, but haven't heard back. Henderson has now been on the run for 2 months, and SCSO has still not notified the public. Mike Mason, 19 News. 19 Investigates first told you that inmates were escaping in Summit County, and the sheriff's office failed to alert the public. We never knew things would go this far.
With 96 affirmative votes and 0 negative votes, majority, the bill is hereby passed and entitled.
House Bill 23 last week passed the Ohio House of Representatives on the floor unanimously.
House Bill 23, known as the Escaped Convict Alert Program, will now move to the Senate floor. State Representative Bill Romer introduced the bill after watching our series of reports.
I looked at news reports on Channel 19 in Cleveland, saw that this is a significant issue. It's in Summit County.
Last fall, 19 Investigates exposed how the Summit County Sheriff's Office repeatedly failed to alert the media and the public after inmates escaped their custody.
We want to make sure that everybody is aware.
Romer's bill would create a system similar to Amber Alerts, notifying people on their smartphones when escapees might be in their area.
When a dangerous individual escapes from custody, minutes matter.
Majority Whip Josh Williams co-sponsored the bill, but he pointed out it won't penalize agencies if they fail to notify the public.
It authorizes law enforcement agencies to issue regional alerts at their discretion.
In one case, 19 Investigates found the sheriff's office never notified anyone when a potentially dangerous felon escaped more than 3 years ago. Preston Hill was granted furlough to attend a relative's funeral back in April of 2022, but he never returned to the Summit County Jail. Hill has been convicted of multiple felonies, including assault, domestic violence, aggravated menacing, and weapons charges. 19 Investigates obtained text messages that a sheriff's official sent to its fugitive task force in 2022, instructing them absolutely no press release on this one. Summit County won't explain why they sent that text, or why the public was never notified. Now, more than 3 years later, Hill remains on the loose. So we wanted to know how Romer's bill would ensure the sheriff's office did send out these alerts. They didn't want people to know that somebody escaped their custody. Do you see a problem with that?
There's going to be so much pressure brought to bear that sheriffs are not going to be able to not report felons escaping.
Although the bill's language could change, Romer remains confident his bill will eventually pass the Senate and become law.
We believe that this will be implemented across the state.
Romer says lawmakers will take a break in July and August, but with 18 more months left in the session, he's hopeful the Senate will pass this bill and the governor will sign it into law. If the bill doesn't pass, it'll have to be reintroduced next year and go through the process all over again. We'll, of course, keep you updated. Mike Mason, 19 News. This man, Preston Hill, has a long and violent criminal rap sheet that dates back over 20 years. Not only did Summit County fail to alert the public when he escaped, they also instructed their deputies not to notify the media about it. 43-year-old Preston Eugene Hill has been on the run for over 3 years. However, on Tuesday, U.S. Marshals finally tracked him down. And as you can see in his mugshot, Hill didn't seem too happy about it. The Northern Ohio Violent Fugitive Task Force arrested Hill at a home in the 700 block of Patterson Avenue in Akron. Hill has been at large for 3 years and 3 months. In April of 2022, a judge granted him furlough to attend a relative's funeral, but he never returned. At the time, Hill had been indicted for trafficking fentanyl and a number of violent offenses, including assault, domestic violence, aggravated menacing, and weapons charges. Hill also has prior drug convictions that include trafficking heroin. 19 Investigates found the Summit County Sheriff's Office failed to alert the public about Hill's escape. Last fall, we uncovered information about several inmates who escaped custody in Summit County, yet the Sheriff's Office never notified you or local law enforcement, despite state laws requiring them to do so. In fact, 19 Investigates obtained text messages from April of 2022 showing a sheriff's official instructing a deputy not to publicize the escape. He texted, "Can you let them know absolutely no press release on this one though, please?" The Summit County Sheriff's Office wouldn't comment on why those text messages were sent to their deputies. Hill is currently at the Summit County Jail being held on numerous felony charges. Mike Mason, 19 News. On Monday, Governor Mike DeWine quietly signed House Bill 23 into law. This is what it looked like, only 2 pages long when it was first introduced. This is what it has grown into, 16 pages, now that it's law. On Monday, DeWine signed House Bill 23 into law. It's also known as the Escaped Convict Alert Program. The bill was passed unanimously in both the House this past summer and in the Senate last month.
The title is agreed to.
ECAP would create a system similar to an Amber Alert, notifying people on their computers and smartphones whenever a felon escapes in their area.
We think that there should be a notification system for escaped felons.
Representative Bill Romer is from Summit County. He introduced the bill last fall after watching a series of 19 Investigates reports.
I started watching news stories, especially on Channel 19 in Cleveland. And Mike Mason, the reporter, was doing stories on escapes from the Summit County Jail.
We showed you how several inmates escaped custody in Summit County last fall, and the sheriff's office repeatedly failed to notify the public. Earlier this year, another inmate escaped from University Hospital, and again, no alert was issued. We also told you about Preston Hill, who has a long and violent rap sheet dating back over 20 years. He's a violent felon who escaped more than 3 years ago. The sheriff's office not only failed to notify the public about Hill, but it instructed deputies not to notify the media. This past July, U.S. Marshals arrested Hill at a home in Akron. The ECAP law will become effective on March 2nd. Mike Mason, 19 News.